So, hello everyone, and welcome to this live stream. We are about to get started. We're going to take some time to give people time to join in, and I'll give some introduction. I'll give some, information about what we're doing, and we will go straight ahead. Okay, we won't be shy about it. So I hope that everyone is ready to have a good time and to experience some wisdom. And of course, as we begin here, you can, you can go straight to the live stream. You can go to the link in the lecture chat and you'll find you can see me high in the clouds hosting this talk. Please understand that there will be some questions coming through in many different directions. So please be understanding, and really the practice is to take this event as a meditation, as a time to listen, to learn, to open up to a deepening of your experience. All right, that's the real intention in what we're doing here. So let's give a few more moments for people to join in, and we'll start soon, okay? All right, it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so hello. Oh, hello everyone, and welcome. We are now live for this talk, for this event. I am very happy to be here with everyone. The way that this is going to work is very much like the title, Q&A with American Buddhist Monk. So it's going to be up to the participants, it's going to be up to the audience members to bring up questions, to bring up, their interest, their curiosity about what they would like to ask to a Buddhist monk. And according to your questions, that is what kind of answers I will be sharing. So I've been a Buddhist monk since 2018, mainly living at monasteries, meditation centers, temples in Southeast Asia. Currently living in Los Angeles, teaching meditation, doing good deeds, and doing my best to be a good person. That really is the prioritization of my monk life. My life as a monk is to focus on and to practice daily being a good person, bringing benefit to myself and to those who are around me. So we will go ahead and begin to start taking questions. If you would like to come up and ask a question, you can raise your hand and be brought up to the stage. Alternatively, you can also tune in to the live stream through YouTube. I've shared a link to join the live stream on YouTube. And other than that, let's get started. So we'll bring up some people to speak and ask questions, and we'll see what comes up. All right, so let's start with Emergency. Are you there?
Yep, I'm right here.
Okay, so do you have a question? Okay, so the question is, how do I do my life in a predominantly Christian country?
Correct.
Partly as a monk, what I rely on is a kindness. And so even if it's not a Buddhist country, even if the people aren't Buddhist, there are going to be people who are kind. And people who are kind can usually see and recognize someone who is also kind and is doing their best to live a good life, and they're happy to support them. So there's that aspect to it for sure, that if you're a good and sincere Buddhist monk, then it's very likely that wherever you go, you will be supported. because you are carrying with you, you are really representing in the world goodness, and people appreciate that. People respect that and they want to support that. So that's one side. The other side is that for mostly everyone who is a monk and living in America, we stay at a Buddhist temple, we stay at the Buddhist monastery, and we are supported by the Buddhist people. Whether they're from Thailand or Myanmar or China, there are a lot of Buddhist people in the world, and certainly a lot of Buddhist people in America that support us to live. Okay? Thank you, Emergency.
Yeah, thank you for your answering.
So, a question that's coming through by the power of a comment, and that is, how can I initiate myself to meditation, and how should I approach it? So, we should initiate ourselves to meditation by finding a meditation group, or finding a guided meditation online from someone who is skillful and experienced. So, listening to a teacher such as Ajahn Brahm or Thich Nhat Hanh, you listen to someone who is a really experienced meditator, giving teaching, giving guidance, and that really sets us up to follow through with meditating and meditating correctly if we do have the intention to do that. But the biggest thing is to kind of find out, are you actually interested in meditation? Do you actually want to meditate, or is it more of is it more kind of a general interest that you have? Meditation is difficult. You really have to have a lot of sincerity and a lot of wholeheartedness to get involved in meditation and to grow in it. But if you have that, listening to a talk from a very experienced teacher, or trying to join a meditation group would certainly be really helpful. Okay. So we will keep bringing people up to ask questions. We'll go now to H.M. Murray. Welcome to come up.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, my question is, why did you choose this lifestyle?
So why did I choose the lifestyle of a Buddhist monk?
Yeah, why did you choose this lifestyle? What brought you to this path?
Yeah. I wouldn't say I chose this lifestyle. I would say according to causes and conditions, many, many past actions that I took in this life and in previous lives, in this moment and in previous moments, I started to walk down the path of investigating, what about becoming a monk? What would that look like? How could I do that? And that led me to moving to Thailand and ordaining, and years later, finding myself to be in that position now. I found for myself that I didn't really get a lot of great benefit or great peace out of materialism. It's just not something that was very deep and meaningful to me. It didn't enrich my life. It didn't make me feel inspired or satisfied. So I wanted to look for something that would, and for me, that was becoming a Buddhist monk.
Okay. And there's no, just curious, on this path to choosing this, have you ever thought of or had regrets in choosing that? Or has it always been a straight path?
There's not much to regret because it's a really fulfilling life. It's a really rewarding life. Some forms of monasticism, so some ways of living a monk life, could be less than fulfilling or difficult, or that aspect of regret might come up. But for me and my monastic form, I just live a really enriched life, a really fulfilling life of doing good deeds, practicing meditation, doing my best to be a good person, and kind of having a meaningful experiences that I rely on and come back to, meaningful ways of interacting with the world. Doing something like this, where I'm coming up and answering questions. This is a place where I can exert myself, where I can exhaust myself in trying to be helpful. And it's very enriching, fulfilling, and it doesn't feel that I'm lacking anything in my life.
Okay. Well, thank you for answering my question.
Thank you. All right. So for everyone who is here, we have a lot more people here now than were here at the beginning. That's kind of how things go. I am Bhante Warpanyo. I'm an American Buddhist monk, and I am here to answer questions. So if you have a question, you can ask, and I will do my best to answer. And I hope that it will bring some benefit to you, some encouragement, some inspiration to you. So let's bring up now, let's see, bring someone up to the stage here. Okay, so come on up. What would you like to say? Oh, one moment. I cannot hear. Uh-oh. And for anyone here who's watching on Reddit, if you would like to see me and to participate in a closer way in this event, if you look in the comments, I put a link to a live stream on my YouTube channel, and so you'll be able to see me in HD answering questions, and maybe the audio quality and stuff will be better as well. So go ahead with your question if you're still here.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I've been a Buddhist practitioner of a Mahayana sect for a while, and I'd really like to help people meditate and lead meditation on here. And I'm curious to know if you have any advice you would give me, because I suppose I'm still new. I've been meditating for about 9 years now.
So it's good.
Next year it'll be
Yeah,
10
so
years, so.
okay, so this person's username is Buddha, the meme lord. If you're watching on Reddit, then we have another space where people are also asking questions with their voice. So bear with me for a moment, and if you want to hear their voice as they ask a question, please just go to the live stream, and you'll be able to watch and to listen, and it should be a good, fun event. So this person's name is Buddha, the meme lord, which is a little bit off kilter, but okay. Yeah, what I recommend, very practically, they asked about joining. They asked about joining for leading meditation sessions and being a facilitator for meditation after about 9 years of meditation practice, and that's great. So what I invite you to do, Buddha the Meme Lord, is join my Discord server where I am regularly hosting group meditation sessions. Participate and follow along for a few sessions, see the facilitation and everything that I've kind of got going on there, and learn from that, because I am successful to lead group meditation sessions. So at least learn from that, but hopefully we'd love to have you be a member of the community, and if we line up in the right way, we'll probably have a talk, me and you, but it would be great for you to host some meditation sessions over there and here in the Hamses as well, all right? So just send me a message about that.
Thank you.
All right.
I will.
So we'll bring up now some people here on Reddit have their hands raised. Emergency, too much, unusual, and low. Let's all come up here.
Okay, so I was curious to know if, like, a lot like Muslims, where they pray toward Mecca, is there a certain routine for a Buddhist to pray? Or?
Okay, thank you, Emergency. So
Hello.
as a Buddhist, we practice
Hello.
meditation.
I just want to say that I am Ukrainian. I love.
Okay. So too much downy. You can go ahead. And as for praying in a certain directions, as monks or as meditators in the Buddhist tradition, we aren't really focused on praying in the Christian sense. We focus on doing good deeds, practicing meditation, and studying the teachings of the Buddha. So the kind of quote unquote worship that we have in Buddhism is about paying reverence or paying respect to representations of wisdom, archetypes of wisdom, things like that, and not so much to be worshiping something or worshiping anyone. All right, are you ready to go? Too much? You want to unmute your mic?
Oh yeah, so this well, thank you for hosting this in advance, and this might be some silly question, and uh but I heard that someone said that like Buddha is a dry stick of shit, and how do you what do you think about what that means?
Well,
I've
what it
heard that.
means is that you shouldn't attach to anything. What it means is that you should practice mindfulness and detachment. So to be aware of what is happening right now and to be willing to let go what you get stuck on or what you get attached to. But to get involved in a deeper understanding of detachment, we need to start by doing good deeds. We need to start by focusing on our cultivation of our character in a virtuous way, in a skillful way. We need to focus on the emphasizing of morality and being a good person. And this is much more important than any philosophical meandering that anyone has to say or talk about. It's just to be a good person, to be generous, to be kind, to be a bro, to try and help as much as we possibly can. Okay? Thank you too much.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. So in my
Oh. Jabba the Hutt, go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
there we go. Hi. I have a question. What's the difference between I think it's Buddha and Budai?
Buddha and Budai. Who is Budai?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the question.
Oh, that's Maitreya. He's just like a famous monk, a somewhat historical Buddhist monk that is very revered and appreciated. That's all. That's the difference. The Buddha is the Buddha, and the Jabba is talking about the fat Buddha.
Yeah, that's why like
So the fat
little
Buddha
guy
is
yells
not the
funny
Buddha.
shots.
The fat Buddha
Okay.
is not the historical Buddha, and he never has been. The Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, who became the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, is never depicted as being overweight or fat. The fat Buddha that we see is a somewhat historical monk who represents good luck, happiness, and certain traditions imagine him to represent like the future Buddha, like the next Buddha. After 6 million years, there'll be another Buddha. We have that kind of mindset. So that's...
Yeah, that's always confused me, so thank you for that.
Yeah, it's just a famous monk.
Gotcha.
Buddhism focuses a lot on archetypes. So like archetypal representations of deeper states of mind or deeper states of wisdom. And a lot of Buddhism can be explained that way. Okay. So Tony South is asking a question on YouTube, and I definitely recommend anybody who's listening to listen through the YouTube. There should be a link in the comments. Tony says, I'm considering traveling next year to fully immerse myself for 1 month as a monk in hopes to find some clarity. Is there a specific timeline or duration you would recommend? No, there's nothing specific that I would recommend except to put yourself fully into it. Give it a good shot. Make sure that you're going to a place that has skillful and lovely people there. You don't want to go to some monastery with, strange people, but you want to go to a place that is really wonderful, right? It's important. And other than that, you should emphasize not this one special experience, but you should emphasize to start doing good deeds now, to start getting involved in meditation now, to start getting involved in studying Buddhist teachings now. The whole of the spiritual path, the whole of life, is not a race, and it's not a marathon, and it's not a sprint. It's all about consistently how you relate to your life at this moment and moments moving forward. So we have to focus rather on the effects that we experience, or rather than this one big action that we take. We need to focus on our intentionality that we act from, that we take actions from. And the more that we can develop this sincere, compassionate intentionality, the more that we can do things that bring benefit to ourselves and to others. So generosity and that very sincere intention to bring benefit, development, and advancement. So a few questions in the comments. Question from Color: what is the best time of day to meditate? Now. And meditating in the morning can also be quite nice. If you have coffee in the morning, take your coffee and then sit down to meditate. What is one specific thing I would change about the modern world? I would prioritize the teaching of virtue and the teaching of meditation and the teaching of developing loving friendliness inside of ourselves to kids in schools. This would be a major topic that kids learned if I could change that, if I could bring that up. So teaching in school as a main subject, first, second, third, fourth grade, meditation, mindfulness, and also virtue, also the importance of being a good person, being a loving, friendly, kind, generous person, and how that creates experiences of goodness, experiences of happiness. I would want kids to be taught that goodness is the field in which seeds of happiness can grow abundantly, and that we should emphasize that. We should know about that clearly. Okay, someone says, what I find fulfilling is living with what I have and not desiring much. That is wonderful. That's contentment. And I'm very happy that you know about that and are practicing that. Paco says, what is the meaning of life? The meaning of life is to do good deeds, to be a good person, to develop and advance ourselves and others in wisdom, in deeper understanding, and also good effects from doing good deeds, our merits. The more that we can do like this, the more that we will have less suffering and more happiness, and the same for the people in the world. So, just a reminder, anyone who's watching on Reddit or here on the Discord, please do go to the YouTube channel so that you can see me and be on the main space for the stream. Should be very helpful to watch that way, and it's in the comments section of the Reddit. So we can all kind of gather up together in that way, and you'll be able to see me. All right, so we're going to keep answering questions, and we'll bring up to the stage Tezbez. Come on up, Tezbez. What is your question? All right, we'll bring up someone else. Let's bring up Quicksilver. John. Let's bring up John. Come on up, John. What's your question?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. I often find myself worried about or attached to the future and my past. And is there any way on how could I focus on what I have now?
Okay. So John said that he oftentimes finds himself focused on the past and the future. Is that right? And how can
Yes.
I focus on what I have now? Is it right?
Yes.
So stop trying to focus on yourself. Start to try and focus on using what you have, offering yourself, offering your body and mind for the benefits of other people, of your environment, and those who are around you. So rather than focusing on yourself all the time, focus on doing good deeds all the time. Focus on doing actions from an intentionality of helping, of bringing benefit, not just to yourself, but to all beings in all directions.
Thank you very much.
And if you practice in this way, of generosity, giving up, like letting go, then what happens is that you're less stuck, you're less self-fixated, you're less selfish, you're less stressed, because you aren't just focusing on yourself, me, my, I, want, don't want, desire, and fear, but you're focusing on this wide spectrum of human experience that is not just about you. And the true you, your true name is your environment and all the people who are around you. Your true name is the sun, the stars, and the moon. And this statement is just as true as the statement that you can see the sun in a flower, and you cannot remove the sun from a flower. So our true name, our true self, is this self of interbeing, of interrelationship, of no separation. So practicing generosity, we start to reestablish our connection to the truth rather than selfish fixation, selfish desire, and selfish fear all the time. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
And the big important thing here is that it's a simple advice, right? It's not too complicated, but the practice of doing it, the practice of making the decision to do good deeds, that's what I'm pointing to, and that's what you need to do if you want to have an effect that is conducive to you developing more and more. But we also have to give up this focus on effect. Don't focus on effect anymore. Don't focus on getting what you want anymore. Focus on doing good deeds more and more. Really try it. If you're living with your family, clean up around the house. Take out the trash a little bit extra, do some sweeping. Do whatever it is that you can do with that intentionality to bring benefit and to help, to be generous. Do it, and do it more and more and more. Exhaust yourself in doing it. Someone was asking a question about being tired or how much to sleep. Listen, if you are in the business of doing good deeds, you don't need much sleep. And when you wake up, you feel bright, you feel happy, it's a new day, and it's a new time to be good. You can deal with anything. If you are in the business of doing good deeds, if you are involved in doing good deeds more and more, you don't need much sleep. You'll be all right. But if you are spending your time doing unskillful activities, only being selfish, only being in a state of desire and fear and trying to get some effect out of your life, try to get the effect out of life that you want, and that's all that you do. And that can get pretty dark, right? That can get pretty negative. Porn addiction, alcohol addiction, sexual addiction, drug addiction of all kinds. It's this constant selfish focus to get the effect, to get what I want. In that case, it doesn't matter if you sleep for 10 days. When you wake up, you feel horrible. You feel miserable. You feel suffering. You feel weak. You feel anxious. And that's all because you're not involved in the activity of doing good deeds. Okay? So do good deeds more and more. Simple to say it, but to do it is to walk the path of developing your character and developing your virtue. And this wealth of goodness, this wealth of virtue, is not easy to be lost. It's not as easy as losing money in the stock market. Our goodness is something that we can carry with us, that we can invest in safely and get exponential returns on if we're willing to reinvest continuously. All right?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for being here and asking your question. So we have a lot more people here than when we started. So I'd like to just give a short and quick introduction about myself. So I am Bhante Warapanyo. I am a 29-year-old American Buddhist monk currently living at a monastery in Los Angeles, at a Buddhist temple in Los Angeles. I became a meditator and a Buddhist in 2015, and I became a Buddhist monk in 2018 in Thailand. Since 2018, I have spent a lot of time living in temples and monasteries in Southeast Asia. And right now, I prioritize my time to be doing good deeds and teaching online. I just returned back from spending time in Vietnam, teaching to kids, teaching to Buddhist people. And now I'm in LA and continuing to do that and doing that online and also in person. So this is simply meant to be an opportunity or an accessible chance encounter, a little bit contrived, right? Because I have to set this up, I have to produce this a little bit, but a kind of chance encounter with a Buddhist monk and your opportunity to ask a question to a Buddhist monk from the comfort of your home. So that is what we are doing here. That is the focus of this event. And we will continue to take questions. All right? And for the best quality of joining in this event, I encourage you to join the YouTube live stream so you can even see me as I'm answering these questions. Okay? So let's go now to our next question, our next person who wants to ask a question, which is XGamer2mil and Rex. Come on up.
Hello, is this on?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. It's not really a religious question, but you play any video games? Any recommendations? Want any recommendations?
Okay, do I play any video games and do I have any recommendations? I recommend that you lower your prioritization of playing video games. And I recommend that you raise your prioritization of doing acts of generosity. So like going out of your way to be a bro, to be someone who is focusing on bringing benefit to some situation, to some person, to your room, to your environment, doing some kind of cleaning, doing some kind of activity with the real clear intention to bring benefit, to help. Not from like a selfish point of view, but from the wish to bring benefit, to help. And we have to find our own way in doing that, you know? But that intent, just touching that intentionality really deeply and really sincerely of asking the question, how can I be a good person? Starting to prioritize that. Most of the time we are prioritizing like having a pleasurable experience. So that leads us to drinking alcohol or smoking weed or doing, more serious drugs or trying to manipulate people or situations to get what we want. And it's kind of unsavory. The whole business of it is unsavory when our only main focus is to get what we want. It's animalistic. It's just like being an animal. We're not an animal, we're a human being. So in this case, what I recommend is that, yeah, you're going to play video games. If you're a gamer, if you're someone who likes to game, or you're someone who likes to watch a lot of TikTok or YouTube, you don't have to defend that. You don't have to prioritize that anymore, because for sure you're going to do that. That's your habit. That's where you have all your momentum. So instead of worrying about that, and especially instead of worrying about losing that, because it's not easy to lose those things that we are attached to, that we're holding on to, what I recommend is that we add a layer of emphasis in our life. And we add a layer of emphasizing doing good, being helpful, being good, this joy of being good, this joy of not just being selfish, but actually being selfless, wishing to bring benefit to others instead of just focusing on ourselves. And one of the easiest ways that we can do this, one of the most direct, accessible ways to do this, is through generosity. So people will ask, well, what is a good deed? What is being good? What is doing good? How do you define good? Don't think about any of that. What I recommend you think about is what kind of acts of generosity can I do? That's doing good. That's being good. Everybody needs help. Everybody needs support. Everybody needs a kind, gentle, compassionate, friendly person to be like, hey, how's it going? Everybody needs a couple bucks, right? So using what we have already, even though we might not be the happiest, most peaceful, or wealthy person in the world, using what we have already and being generous with that, offering that to someone else for their benefit. And it's not so much the how what we offer is used, or if we do it like in the best way or the perfect way. It's not really about that. It's about that intention to generously give what you are holding on to. And if you do that, it's going to work out well, for sure. There's going to be benefits that come about from that. Okay, so let's bring up our next person to speak. Playgrat and Meatball, come on up. And just to say, if you are watching on the Discord, please join through the YouTube link that you'll find in the lecture chat, because this is this is where you'll be able to hear everybody's audio. We have people coming from different places, and on the YouTube stream is where you can hear the audio of anyone who asks a question, for sure. And you can also see me. So let's start with Meatball Sub. Meatball, do you have a question?
Yeah, a bit of a long one, but any sort of, like, how virtues and vice is a thing, like, is there any sort of set of morals that you live by personally?
Yeah. Do good every day. Denounce, renounce, detach from your righteous anger, your righteous greediness, your righteous negative thinking, and just do your best to take care of people, to bring benefit to people, to be kind to people, according to your ability, whatever that might be. You just do your best to help. Oftentimes the people who are very inspired about philosophizing about what's good and what is the true nature of morality and these kinds of things, oftentimes these people aren't really involved in doing good deeds. So we need to get involved. We need to practice doing good deeds. And that's how we are going to recognize and develop in our capacity to understand what's good and what's not, what works and what doesn't. Okay? Playgrat, you want to go? Okay, so we'll bring up some people to the stage. All right, we'll bring Connor up to the stage. Connor, come on up. And Quicksilver, do you have a question?
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Connor.
Hey, how's it going? So, I did have one question for you. So, I haven't really watched your YouTube channel or anything before, so you probably have received this question before, but I was sort of curious as to how you became a monk and how you would compare your life currently as a monk to your life before becoming a monk.
Well, I became a monk. So there's the question about how did I become a monk? And of course, I get this question all the time and I've answered it a lot. But I became a monk because I had a experience of success in the material life. And I found that material success was not fulfilling to me. And so I began the practice of giving up, letting go of my material success. And that eventually led me to becoming a monk. But the real question, the real important question is what led you to becoming a practitioner? Because being a monk is just a outside representation that is intending to mean that this person is a practitioner. This is someone who is following guidelines for living. This is someone who's practicing celibacy. This is someone who's doing good deeds. This is someone who's practicing meditation regularly. And this is someone who's studying the wisdom teachings, the Buddhist teachings, which are a high bar for this word wisdom and for anyone in the world, unless they have a particular, strong attachment about this, one philosophy that they like or whatever. And they think Buddhism is antithetical to that. Other than that, Buddhism is like a high bar, a high standard for wisdom. If you want real deep spiritual wisdom that's like doesn't have all the crystals and the woo-wah in it, Buddhism is one of the best sources, bar none. So I became a practitioner because I experienced great suffering and I wanted to escape from that suffering. I wanted to deal with that suffering. That led me to joining a meditation center, and that eventually led me to getting my initial training at a meditation center, and that eventually led me to moving to Thailand and becoming a monk. Okay? Thank you for your question, Connor.
All right, man. Good talking to you.
All right. Quicksilver, you have a question?
Okay, so yeah, thank you for having me up. And the
Are you
first question
referring
would
to me?
actually be
No,
so
one
just one
moment.
question
Yeah,
would
go
be
ahead.
allowed.
Sorry.
What's the question?
Okay, I actually have a bunch of questions, but
One
if you
quick
just want me
question.
to,
One
state the
quick
main
direct
one.
question.
Okay. The quick question would be, when you're doing good
Don't you
for
think to
others,
some
right?
people material
Would it be
things they make
best
them more
to focus on giving materially or giving more from,
No. Okay, so the question is about
loving
giving.
perspective?
Yes. The
Yeah,
question is
giving.
about giving
Yeah,
and what
in terms
is
of the person.
in terms of the person. Okay. So I know that the people here on Reddit, you couldn't hear the person asking the question. If you go to the YouTube live stream, you'll be able to hear that person asking the question. They're on a different platform. They're through the Discord. So the question is about, what should we give? What is more essential? What is important to give? And the answer is kind of within the question. So it's not about giving money. It's not about giving material things. That can be very helpful in certain situations. But the practice of generosity, which is really a doorway and a stepping stone to deeper wisdom and a real experience of detachment, being able to walk through life and experience things without getting tangled up in them, without getting trapped in them, And when we find ourselves to get tangled up or trapped in any given experience, having this ability to put that down, to detach, to let that go, so that we don't fall into these spirals of delusion and depression and anxiety, because we know how to detach, we know how to let go. So what do we give and what is important to give? It's as simple as this. You give what is precious to you. You give what is meaningful to you. You don't just give dirt that you find on the ground and now you're generous because you gave dirt away. The generosity comes from you giving away, sharing something, giving up something that is precious to you. So, what is most precious to you? Well, one is money, for sure. And if we can give away money, that's going to be good. That's a good practice of generosity. But an even higher practice than that is to give our body and our mind, to give our time, right? What's more precious to you than your body? What's more precious to you than your mind? Certainly not money. So we practice generosity to give up, to share, to let go of what we are holding on to. That's the practice. And we can really become skillful in letting go through practicing generosity regularly. Okay? So we should try to do that. So we'll go to the next question here from BK. Are you ready, BK?
Yeah, sorry to stutter a little bit. There's a lot of people here. It almost feels like you're speaking directly to me, but
good.
I'm only, but when I attach it to myself and my reality, it's very hard for me to speak and have it relate to everybody. So I feel like I'm speaking directly to you, but
okay,
maybe it'll help some people here.
Okay.
I'm going through addiction. Not going to go into details. I'm going through addiction once again. I beat it maybe almost a decade ago. I don't have the same fight in me that I did last time. And I don't know where to find it. And you're saying generosity, but there's so many things, like you were saying, like you were saying before, like don't keep making your life, like don't keep running, like, or trying to get things in your life because it'll make you tired and upset. But the question really is, if you have to work and make money and, like, keep striving for all of these things, like, where's the time to be generous? Like, that's what made me such a monster of, like, I need all this money, I need all of these things, and then all of a sudden it became addiction, to actual substances, as a side of, like, everything you're talking about. So I wanted you to elaborate more about, somebody who would be going through something like physically as opposed to mentally, because kind of addiction goes hand in hand with depression.
Yeah, so the situation that we find ourselves in is a difficult one. It doesn't matter if we are free from addiction or we are very wealthy or we have a nice relationship or our house is clean or whatever it might be. As human beings, we find ourselves in a difficult situation. It's quite a wonderful one to be a human being. There's a lot of opportunities and possibilities that human beings have that animals don't. But it is fundamentally a difficult situation. So that's why the Buddha's first noble truth is that there is suffering. There is dissatisfaction. There is this sense of unease, of difficulty. This is something that we all go through constantly, every day. Doesn't matter if you're a monk or a billionaire. You're going through experiencing this sense of dissatisfaction, this sense of unpleasantness every day, all the time. It's a part of life. So how do we deal with that? How do we relate to that? Well, we relate to that by learning to rely on this moment rather than our complicated thinking. This moment is not based in your past. This moment is not based in your future. This moment is a direct experience that is clearly perceived by your presence of mind, by your awareness. And our responsibility in life is not to avoid this experience. It's not to get a different experience. It's not to change this experience. That's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to face this experience, to face the effects, not to change them, not to get rid of them, not to strive so that we can get better effects, but to face the effects that we are experiencing right now. This is to face our karma. In facing these effects, we learn that we are able to face suffering. We are able to face difficulty. We are able to be with suffering. We don't need to run away from it. We don't need to cover it up with meth, heroin, alcohol, weed, whatever it is, Xanax. We have this real capacity to face our suffering, to face this moment, and to face our joy. In facing our suffering, we find our joy, we find our peace, we find our freedom. So, how to face this suffering, how to face your joy, how to face this moment in your normal, regular, everyday life of business, life of bills and jobs and materials. It is to find your ways and means of being a good person and having a good, wholesome intention wherever you are. You reiterate your intentionality in each day, in each moment, in each situation. You don't rely on cause and effect. You don't rely on being stuck in unpleasantness or difficulty or complicated thinking. You rely on returning to the intentionality of bringing benefit, of helping, of being good, of bringing benefit to any given situation. This is how we practice to refresh and restart at any moment, to find our good intention, our wholesome intention to help in any activity. It doesn't matter what kind of work you do. You give that extra layer of care, that extra layer of mindfulness. You touch more and more deeply your intentionality in any activity, and the world opens up. The paycheck of goodness, we don't need to wait for the end of every 2 weeks. We don't need to wait for that paycheck weekly. That paycheck of goodness is going to come immediately as we start to emphasize being good, being kind, being patient, being gentle, being a source of peace in the world. And that is to be mindful, to be aware of this moment, to be grounded, not to rely on our complicated thinking, but instead to rely on our breath, to rely on listening to talks from great teachers, wise, compassionate people. Why, we feel like crap, we feel miserable and unpleasant, and life is a bore and horrible, and it's just a mess. And so what? We choose to drink, we choose to smoke meth, we choose to take heroin. We choose to spend time with unskillful people, people who are also suffering so deeply. No, well, what do you think's going to happen? You're going to be in the same situation as you have been. Things aren't going to get better. So at these moments of clarity, we are at an impasse. We are in a position to make a choice to invest in doing good deeds, in following through with the opportunity to listen to wisdom. And so right now, for everyone here on Reddit, and I'll also try and post this comment on the YouTube channel, but for everyone here on Reddit, you can sort the comments by new, and I just posted a resource list. So this is a resource list to support you in doing good deeds, learning about meditation, and connecting with wisdom. We don't need to skim the surface of materialism and consumption if we're trying to deal and face our suffering. There's a lot of wisdom in the world. There's a lot of skillfulness in the world. There's a lot of compassion in the world. And if you sort the comments by new right now, you're going to find a list of resources to connect you with some great compassionate teachers, with a book recommendation, with some guided meditation, a community opportunity, a Discord server, a YouTube channel, my YouTube channel. So, take up these resources, reaffirm your intention, remember your intention to do good, to be good, BK Cheech, and don't focus too much on the effects. Face the effects, face what you're experiencing right now, and do good deeds, be generous, help out, do something, not because it gives you a special effect, not because of that. Do it because you know that it's good to do it. Clean the house, clean the toilet, do some push-ups, go for a little bit of a walk, drink some water, stretch. Listen to some of these talks and look up some of these teachers that I just shared with you in the comments. Send me a message if you need to, get some resources or something. Do good deeds. Remember the body, remember the heart, remember the breath, come back to it, rely on it, not complicated thinking. And, be willing to let go of experiences. At the end of the day, they're impermanent. Doesn't matter what the experience is, it's not permanent, it's not fixed. It's always changing. So be willing to let go of what you experience at any given moment. And in that way, we can all make progress to have more peace and joy in our lives. It's not paint on top of rotten wood. It is encouraging you to really, what's going on? Let's get involved in this. I'm practicing meditation every day. I'm hosting group meditations every day. I'm hosting these Q&As every day. I'm doing my best to be generous with my time and my body and my mind every day, and that's why I feel that I have some peace and happiness and joy in my life. If I curl up in a ball, get a 6-pack of beer, and try to find some meth, I'm not going to feel good. So do good deeds, practice mindfulness and detachment, and to the degree to which you invest in this and follow through with this, that's the degree in which you will develop in merit and wisdom, in goodness and understanding. Good luck.
Thank you. I really appreciated that. It was very helpful.
Okay. Yeah, we can all change. We can all grow and develop. Nuclear Dreamer, I'm ready.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
So you might have to reiterate some of your sentiments because I think that you answered a little bit of my question with what you just said. But I'm wondering if it might help anybody else to give a little bit of a tangible example around how you personally deal with a situation where you're placed with giving to somebody else, whatever that might be. And we can make it extremely tangible with if you find a homeless person on the street and they ask you for some change and you give it to them and they come back to you and say, can you give me more? And so you give it to them, and then, the same thing repeats. Where do you personally or morally draw the line when it comes to those situations? Where do you disengage? Do you have any experiences that you can share with everybody that gives a little bit of a concrete piece of thinking around that? I don't know if that makes sense.
No, you don't. You don't need to be concrete about this. You just need to be willing to set a boundary and not be totally ridiculous. So a good likelihood, a good way to go about it. Actually, this is some YouTuber who I follow, who I watch, who's like a homesteader and this kind of guy, and he's kind of a cool guy and almost like a father figure kind of type. And he does different videos. And he said he gave this rule about kind of borrowing tools. So if another man wants to borrow tools from you, how do you deal with this? What's the policy, right? Sometimes we have a lot of nice things. People want to borrow it. People want to use it, what have you. So what's the policy that we can use, that we can practice with? And he said, look, it's like this. The first time, yeah, of course, you let somebody borrow a tool. Okay, they give it back. Well, they borrow the tool. And again, the borrowing is that they give it back, right? Another time, they ask you, they want to borrow a tool. Okay, you give it to them. The third time, that's when you say, wait a minute. If this person is asking for a third time, then this is a tool they need to invest in themselves. And in many ways, it's the same for our own practice, our own life. If we're asking other people for things once, twice, three times, that's the time when we need to start getting involved in that on our own. So in your, example that you gave, it's just to be skillful. It's just to be careful. If you want to help someone, try to help them. If they say, hey, I need more help, try to help them. But at the point where helping them is putting you in an unstable and confused situation where now you need help, that's the time to set a clear boundary and to detach. Listen, there are all kinds of kittens in the world that are dying. Have you ever seen a kitten, Nuclear Dreamer?
Right.
Not to talk about
point.
a homeless person, but a kitten, and there's
It's a much
homeless
better
children as
example.
well. There are kittens all over the world that are dying, and I met my first kitten days ago. I never met a kitten before. I never experienced that. I thought cats were cats and kittens were like more skeletal. I thought they were like a small skeletal cat or something, but kittens are curious and the most precious, the most sweet thing that you can imagine. A mother and a kitten. I mean, it's unbelievably precious. And we can't bring them into our Joey pouch for the rest of our lives, right? You can't keep a kitten in your skin sack like a kangaroo and nurture it and keep it safe and protected. And even if you could do that, it wouldn't develop, it wouldn't grow, it wouldn't become a cat, it would stagnate, because we need to face adversity, we need to face difficulties. So, with a homeless person, with someone who needs help, really someone who needs help, try to help them, do your best to help them, but also recognize that you are not them, that setting a boundary is just to recognize that you are not actually them, and set that boundary so that you can continue to do good deeds and maybe come back to that person, maybe try to help them again. Don't overthink these kinds of situations, and detach, let go, continue on, but don't be callous. We can't protect all the kittens in the world. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't appreciate and empathize with their innocence and their need to be protected and their need to be supported. So don't be callous, be careful, and be willing to set clear boundaries so that you can continue your own development and advancement. Why? So that you can support others in development and advancement. Okay?
Thank you for that. That's very nice to hear.
Yeah, something like that.
Can I ask you a second question? And you can say no. Is there anything fundamentally that changed your mind in your life situation that you'd care to share that was more of an epiphany moment around that concept that meant a lot to you personally?
It's a good question. Give me a few moments.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's more about don't be callous. Be willing to help and recognize when it's untenable situation and help in a contemplative way. That's what I recommend. Don't be callous. Be willing to help, reach out, try to help, recognize what if you're able to help or not in that situation. Practice detachment, don't be callous, and reach out and remind them, maybe you can't help that person, but remind them that they are loved, they are welcomed, they are accepted, and also be willing to set a boundary through detachment. Setting a boundary isn't always proclaiming our separation from that person. Setting a boundary is sometimes just detaching from responding, not necessarily responding and just letting things be for a while and then coming back and saying, hey, I care about you, I love you, I'm here for you, and connect in that way. It's not just to help in the way that a person wants to be helped, but it is to try and take care of a person to the best of our abilities. And then to do that and then to end, to close in that activity, because we can't constantly be in the practice of empathizing with other people. So there is
that was the answer to that question that I had. Actually, is exactly what you just said. That's a very good point.
Great. So I want to share a link for everyone who's here. If you're interested in this subject about compassionate engaging in a sustainable way, I just posted it. It's called the Grace Model, and it's about doing compassionate engagement, whether you're maybe you're a caretaker or a someone who's working with people who are addicts, or a nurse or a practitioner, something like that. And it's 5 elements of basically get grounded, remember your intention, attune to self and other, so recognize where you're at, what you're able to do, and recognize where that other person is and what they need, what they're able to receive. Consider what will serve, so consider what you can do now to bring benefit. Finally engaging, ethanol enactment, and then ending. So you do it, you engage, you take care, and then you end. It's not constant, never-ending empathizing with people who are in need of support or help. It is to engage and to end. Okay?
Thank you for sharing the links and knowledge about that. I very much appreciate it.
Welcome. Okay. So who is next to ask a question? We might have one in the comments. So Alex asked a question about death, what happens after. Don't want to live in fear of death. Well, you don't need to worry about living in fear of death. Worry about living in fear of life. And so how deeply are we willing to face life? How willing are we to investigate life, not just to take it at a surface level? What is life? This is life. Investigate it, face it, be with it, know it deeply, connect with it wholeheartedly. You know, our idea about death is nothing. Our experience of death is as lively as life is, you know. This is it. Death is all around us. Death is something we experience each and every day when we go to sleep. Or as we feel the arising and passing away of thoughts. Thoughts come into being and then they die. So don't overthink death. Recognize that loss is a part of life and that loss, death, is an opportunity for intimacy, not just with your intellectual thinking, but actually with your lived experience, the experience of your body, the experience of your heart. And we can learn a lot by facing that and being with that rather than thinking about it. So would you like to ask a question? Rex? Okay.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, Rex, I'm right here.
I'm feeling pretty down recently. High school is rough, man.
Yeah, it's tough.
I'm feeling discontent with my form. I'm not feeling as good as I used to.
Well,
Life's
what are you
been
doing?
pretty hard.
What are you doing in there?
Just thinking about it. I've been writing it down, but most of the time I just bottle it up and put it on a shelf. It's really unhealthy and I don't know what to feel anymore.
Well, you don't need to be thinking about this so much. I mean, this is one of your problems is that you're thinking too much. And you are relying on thought. You know, thought is not really reliable. Thoughts that you have about yourself, about other people are not really reliable, especially in like high school. So, boom, you've got this other avenue that is opened up to you. You know, you've got Big Brother Monk right here, you know. So you have looked towards this high school experience through the perspective, through the practice of relying on thinking, and you found that that's not really working out, that that's not workable, it's not sustainable, it's not enjoyable, it's not enriching, it's not any good. So let go of that. Don't see school, don't see your life in high school and all this through the realm of thinking. Okay, now that's going to be a practice. That's going to be a way of reorienting to your foot at this moment rather than all of your complicated thinking about high school. And if someone was to come along and said, hey, look, I've got to take something, I've got to cut off something, are you going to tell them to cut off your foot? Or are you going to tell them to cut off all of this complicated thinking that you have about high school? So what you can understand by this is that your foot right now is more essential, more important, more precious, more valuable than all this big old tangled up ball of thoughts and thinking and judgments and self and other and all this stuff. So it's not so important. And this truth that I have just presented to you is also true when you're at school walking around or when you're in the midst of these situations with, less than ideal people. Your foot is more important. So why are you focusing so much on your thinking rather than your foot? Feeling your steps as you walk, feeling your breath, feeling your body. So practice in those situations, and it's going to take some time, but if you practice it, if you're willing to work with this way of doing things, then you'll get skillful at it. It'll develop. You just have to be willing to try. During those times, you just rely on your breathing. You just rely on the feeling of your heartbeat. You just rely on the feeling of your stomach rising and falling. It might be a little bit uncomfortable. It might be a little bit unpleasant, but it's much, much better. It's much more peaceful. It's much more stable than relying on thinking in these situations. All this complicated, multi-layered thinking. I mean, that stuff's just a nightmare. So you want to learn to let go of that now, to put that down now, Rex. And in terms of the practical application, you hear what I'm saying, you receive that, and so find your intention to breathe and be with your foot and not take your thoughts so seriously. Sure, do that. But also, I know you know about Discord. Join the Discord. Join for some group meditations with me and with my community if it's in the right time zone for you, if the times line up. I can recommend some talks that you can listen to. You don't have to do all that, but doing that is for sure going to be much better than you getting all tangled up in this nonsense about high school and these people and your life. Your life right now is meant to be going for walks. Breathe in and being aware and relaxed and letting go and just learning about yourself, not learning about all these random people at high school and how you relate to them and how they relate to you. That's all a bunch of unnecessary thinking. So you've got the Discord link. You've got my information here. If you've got the Discord, if you've got the YouTube, you've got my information. You can reach out to me. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep growing, okay? We don't have to stay stuck. I mean, give up everything up to now. Totally change from this point out. And, let's really get with this and let's have a good time too. All right?
Thank you so much.
Okay. You're welcome. I'm glad that you're here, bud. So bring up a few more people to speak. Let's start with Reasonable. What do you have to say, Reasonable? And just FYI, before we continue, if you go to the comments of this live talk, you'll find a YouTube link, and that's the live stream for this channel. And if you scroll down a little bit, a live stream on my channel for this talk, this Q&A. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll find a resource list with some teachers, book recommendations, my Discord, all that jazz, all right? So let's go ahead, Reasonable.
Hi. So, being enlightened brings one to understand the suffering and materiality that plagues our life, but this path also brings with it so much shadow work that might bring you to understand the traumas in your soul and perhaps even traumas that are generational. So has it left you to be a sad person? Like, do you think you're a sad person at the moment? And how do you channel this sadness in your heart to do good in the world? Like, is it really as easy as a choice? Because I've been spiritual for 2 years now, and on some days I still find it's so hard to wake up and function like I'm a healing human. And I feel like there's so much sadness in my heart that I don't know what to do with. And perhaps it's also because I haven't had a complete ego death. And while I do understand that healing isn't linear, it doesn't help when you're so close to being brought to regress and embody your past traumatized ego self. So how do you go about realizing your sadness and coming and bringing yourself to do good in the world, despite
Okay.
your own? Yeah.
So you're overthinking it. And I concerned that the source material that you're looking at is not as based as I would recommend that you look into. Things like ego death are not really workable spiritual terms for modern people. Ego death is something that you'll find on r/psychedelics or r/awakening or something like this. It's not something that you'll find deeply embodied meditation teachers instructing you about and encouraging you about. I mean, in your case, maybe it is someone who's quite good, and they talk about that. But you can consider to branch out and to listen to some different teachers, such as Ajahn Brahm or Thich Nhat Hanh. I highly recommend. As for being discouraged on the path, as you get involved in facing your life, as you get involved in an intimacy with your experience, you're going to find that there is a suffering, there is a difficulty, there is a confusion, but that we have an incredible capacity to look at, to be with that confusion, to be with that suffering, and understand it more and more deeply. But we're not focused on the effects. If you really are a spiritual practitioner, you are taking responsibility for the causes, not for the effects. The effects are unimportant. The effects are the results of many, many, many actions in this lifetime and past lifetimes that we do not have control over. Many this present moment, many actions, and many past moments that many causes have come into play, and now the effects of that are coming up. So we can't control past causes. And in that way, we don't try to control the effects that we're experiencing right now. Instead, we find a methodology for facing the effects of this moment. That is to face our karma. This is at the heart of spiritual practice. This is at the heart of meditation. So you don't need to worry about having a big experience. You need to focus on doing good deeds, acts of generosity, especially with children. If you are able to work with children or interact with children in a compassionate way, in a way of generosity and offering, you should be involved in that. If you are able to be around a community, other people who are also practicing meditation and meeting together and sharing their voice and practicing meditation together, you should try to be involved with that. And in the meantime, you don't get discouraged by difficulty. It needs to be your reminder. It needs to inspire you to continue. It needs to inspire you to refresh and restart and come back to this present moment, because this is where we can really get involved, at this present moment. You know, if you put your hand on in a fire, it's only at this present moment that you can take it away. And it's only at this present moment that you can put it there. And it's only at this present moment that your hand being in the fire matters, or that an effect is taking place, that the fire is affecting you at that moment. The burning only happens at that moment. So we need to get involved in the causes, in the intentionality of our actions, and we need to deepen that. And we need to open our heart to that in a very simple way. The more complicated our thinking is, the more that we can be sure that we are obfuscating the path, that we are confusing the path. The main fundamental practice, especially as someone who's saying, you know, I've been on the spiritual path for 2 years, the foundational practice, for sure, is going from a complicated mind to a simple mind. From a complicated narrative of doing this and doing that to a simple experience of having a good intention at this moment to help. So keep with it, do your best, and certainly if you follow according to what I said, and if you keep in touch with skillful teachers and you're practicing generosity, you're practicing meditation, then you will certainly make progress. So you just need to continue with it and let those difficulties be your supporting factors to continue, not to get complicated. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
So we'll go to Quinny. Go ahead, Quinny.
Wow. I have. You might say my breathing is horrible. Do you know how you could do a full breathe easily?
Okay.
See, it didn't have that. Had an end. And I don't know why it does that. And also, I'm autistic and ADHD, so life is also a pain.
Well, it sounds good to me. What we need to, so like the practice of meditation, okay, is not about controlling the breathing, and it's not about breathing in a certain way. It's about being with the breath. It's about enjoying the breath. It's about touching the breath and relying on the breath continuously, staying with it, enjoying it, finding this way of enjoying the breath, even if it's shallow, even if it's small. If we're breathing enough to keep living, we enjoy the breath. We face the breath. We step into it. We get closer to it, more intimate with it. We look closely at breathing. That's the meditation practice. And when we're in a social situation, or when we're busy, when we're doing things, when we're out in public, it's not so comfortable to be intimate and close with our breath, right? We feel a little bit
Yes.
anxious. So that's why when we have this time alone, when we're laying down in our bed and it's just you by yourself, to touch and to face and to feel your breath and enjoy your breath completely. No layer of shallow or deep or better or worse or this person or that person, but just to fully, completely turn in and be with breathing and give your full interest, your full curiosity, your full attention to breathing. That's the practice. Can you do it?
Not really. You lost me at the part where you said to be the breath.
Interested in the breath. When you're
I'm pretty sure so.
When you're alone, just focus on your breathing and enjoy it. If it is small, know that it's small. If it's big, know that it's big. But just breathe and enjoy breathing without any extra thinking. Do you understand?
A bit.
At that time, you rely on breathing. It's just like if you are sitting in a car.
Basically eating or any other necessary thing.
What? What do you say?
She was I was saying it's similar to any other necessary thing. That's why I said it's any necessary thing really fast.
Don't worry, no fast and no slow. It's just breathing. So don't trust your thinking. Don't believe in your thinking. Believe in breathing. Rely on, stay with breathing. Understand the world through breathing. Understand language through breathing. You just breathe. That's it. Make it your main number one job, breathing. And then you start thinking. Or someone comes and bothers you, they take you to some place. Come back to your room, to whatever it is, breathing. Breathing. Only focus on breathing. No good breathing, no bad breathing, just breathing. Curiosity, investigation, breathing, breathing, breathing. You're just breathing. And you use your full capacity. You use all of your brain power, your mind power, your life power, breathing only. So you try it, okay? You do your best to breathe.
Yeah.
All right.
Why does whenever I say okay first, it does that?
Okay. Just breathing. Answer the question with just breathing. Ask the question with just breathing. When you get confused, just breathing. When you get angry, just breathing. When you have to go to the toilet, just breathing. When someone comes and bothers you, just breathing. So we practice like that, Quinny. Okay. So thank you for that great question and that sharing, Quinny. I really appreciate that. We're going to go now to concentrate, which is an appropriate name, a suitable name.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions actually. So one would be, what is it like to be a monk? Like, what does it take to be a monk, and what martial arts do you practice if you do practice any? And my follow-up question, which is a tiny bit deeper than that, but sort of relatable to the whole kind of like subject slash demeanor of this chat, is how do you deal with something like aging? Of course, it's inevitable, and not much you can do about it, but it's still kind of bothersome to me, at least.
As a monk, my job is to be a good person and practice meditation. I don't practice any martial arts. That's more of a movie trope. As for aging, it is a holy messenger. Old age, sickness, death is coming to us all. Recognizing the impermanence of life, we reorient our mind not into trying to hold on to things that we can't hold on to, whether that's health, youth, healthy body, whether that's money or power. But we recognize that everything is impermanent, and we practice to accept and be with this truth of impermanence, to investigate it. Investigate the nature of the body, the nature of the mind, the nature of thoughts as they arise and pass away. Don't worry about aging. Worry about not listening to the holy messenger of aging. Old age, sickness, and death is coming to all of us. So we should get involved in understanding our mind and our life deeply at this moment to prepare ourselves for old age, sickness, and death that can come at any time. So we'll go now to facetious.
Fantastic. Hey. So, wanted to start off by saying absolutely love all of this that's happening here and the way that the different questions from folks are interplaying together. And I want to ask this as an exploration of your own thought, but also reaching out to everybody else that's here in exploring self-expectation in regards to the paramitas and the way that we can hold ourselves not only accountable to the way that we move through the world, but also check back and realize what is attainable and tenable in your individual place.
Well, we need to find the place of not taking the self so seriously. So that maybe answers your question. But also a very present-minded conception of the paramitas and a present-minded conception of not how we get an effect from our practice that is this embodiment of, a paramita, but how we take care or respond to the lacking of the paramitas, these holy qualities or these wholesome qualities that can be generated and brought up, how we respond to the lack of that and the friction that arises in any given moment in a way that recognizes the efficacy and the viability of the paramitas in living and acting in a wholesome way. And then, we try to do our best to live up to that, to know that that is a way that human beings can live and kind of take steps in that direction. But it's not really something to be discouraged about, because the only way that we understand compassion, the only way that we understand patience, loving friendliness, is through our recognition of that in ourselves. So when we look at the paramitas, these perfections of wholesomeness or these perfections of goodness, it's something that we innately have a capacity to practice. And so you don't become a person who is kind of imbued with these perfections, but you practice to be a person who is living in a way that recognizes these capacities and follows through in enacting them to the best of our abilities at this moment, according to the cause and conditions. What's your follow-up for this? This is a bit of a facetious question, right? Is it?
Not at all.
I don't know what facetious is, so that's I was just
It means
teasing
sarcastic.
you a little bit. Oh, sarcastic. Yeah, no, it's not. Not sarcastic. Yeah.
The other portion of it is something that you've already addressed a decent bit, especially with Quinny and a couple others, as far as maintaining consistent presence. And as somebody who is decently prone to dissociation due to past traumas, I work quite hard to present the reminder of breath to myself. And I was wondering if you had any other suggestions for folks out there as far as tools to maintain presence.
I don't know about your life, but the first thing that came to mind for me was to really find a situation or find a practice in your life to really put your face into the grindstone. It's wonderful when we can experience like an exhaustion that comes not from like meeting some responsibility or some obligation that we have, or someone's like dragging us along, but reaching a point of exhaustion from a place of compassionate intentionality. And it's at that place when we kind of go head over heels into our practice, that we find that there's a dimension of mindfulness that is effortless. There's a dimension of mindfulness that, well, we say mindfulness, but there's a lot of different things to say, different words to point to this, but this kind of open-hearted, open-minded quality of the mind in any situation, that if we are always like just keeping ourselves in this kind of moderated and regulated position, we might miss out on this effervescent quality of mindfulness that is pervasive in the background of any activity. And when we find ourselves to be in that state of busyness, we don't necessarily need to put forth effort into being mindful of busyness or being busily mindful, but actually just to detach from being mindful or being busy, and become become aware of this this kind of state, this kind of condition that you find yourself in, that is not only conditional, because you may be involved in a busyness, you might be involved in an activity, but you also have that immediate capacity to be uninvolved. And this doesn't take effort to do. It kind of takes a putting down of your efforts, a putting down of your contrivance. And it's very natural to do that.
And kind of tying to that moment of your phrasing, it is something that I have encountered a decent bit, is a tendency to plan well and to be, the mental pieces seem to fall in line together well. However, the transition to action then is maintaining that action and that momentum over time is where issues tend to arise for myself. But don't feel like you have to reply too long to this one, because there's plenty of other questions.
Well, it's normal. And this is why Buddhism has the monastic order. And there are many different forms that can be practiced in the monastic order, in the monkhood. But you don't need to become a monk, but you can prioritize finding more supportive conditions for your consistency. So the biggest one for me has been community. And, now I'm a monk, so it's a whole nother dimension of community. But I have my Discord. We are regularly practicing meditation together. It'd be great to have you there. We've got regular.
I just joined, very excited.
Yeah. And that's, it's difficult to be consistent, because consistency is the deciding factor in success. Consistency for anything, right? But other things, material things, are more based in a competitiveness or based in the body. But consistency is what it's all about. It's not about some special experience. It's not about reaching some point. It's not about a shift in your perspective. It's about your consistency to refresh and restart and to continue at this moment, and at this moment moving forward. And that's where we really find the constant open door of peace, the constant open door of freedom, the constant open door of humbleness and patience and gentleness and detachment. So good luck, and I hope to see you in the Discord, and we try to be consistent together.
Thank you very much, and that was an excellent way to close. I appreciate it. Appreciate you. Take good care, everybody.
Yeah. For the people joining the Discord, also recognize that this is an intentional community. So we have a welcome channel, and we have information in the welcome channel, and it's important that you read all that information. And there are instructions for how to verify, to go through the verification so that you can join our main community. Yeah. All right, so A1 Ondo, you have a question?
Hi, yes, thank you for having me. I'm having a question regarding stress problems that I'm currently facing. So currently I'm studying a science degree. I'm pursuing a science degree. From the first day of my studies, I've had a hard time focusing while taking finals and exams that are very important. And during the tests, I feel really stressed out, and that's really messing up with my studies. I can't really get to the maximum level of focus that I wanted to achieve, and I've tried approaching the mindfulness approach. I've tried meditating, and I still don't feel like I can gain some focus and concentration on this exact moment. And I'm trying to be present, but that's still not really working as the way I expected it to be. So I would like to know, how would you approach such a difficult and stressing time, such as taking a test, and actually manage to get by with the success and the result that you wanted to achieve at the first place?
Okay, very well said. So this is my answer to your question, and this will be the final question that I'll answer before we finish today. I'm the wrong person to ask about studying or being successful in tests. I never studied in school, and I never really made progress in that side of things. With Buddhism, I'm more interested, so I can be more involved. But the advice that I give about this is, in that process of, being in the situation that you're in, a lot of people are in that situation. Take time not to go out and drink and dull yourself and black out or whatever, but take a period of time to fully and completely let go of your study and your test and your future, like the whole game about why you're doing this and what you're going to get out of it and preparing for the test and all that. Maybe it's just an hour, maybe it's 2 hours, maybe it's a whole day that you just stop everything. You put down the books, you put down your aspiration, you put down your worry about not passing the test, you put down your hope about passing the test. You just take a period of time where you fully put all of it down. You give yourself the complete permission to basically drop out of college fully and completely and go and be homeless or whatever. It's just, you don't care what happens. You just put down all aspects of this test, study, and work. And for that period of time, you just rest. You just rest and relax and enjoy your moment. You've been putting in a lot of hard work, you've been endeavoring and you've been sincere in your study and all this, so you're going to be able to enjoy your moment. But just to put all that down, give yourself that time, and put it down in a way where you don't know if you're going to pick it back up. That's how fully you put it down. And then after you take your rest, after you enjoy your moments, yeah, you know what you'll probably do, but that full relax, that full refresh, that full restart, and then come back to it with this sense of freedom and this sense of, you're doing this because this is something that you want to do, that is aligned with your intention, not something that you need to do from a place of fear or worry or desire, but something that you want to do because it's what's important to you, it's what's meaningful for you, and you're making the choice to pick that up and to get involved in that again. And if you do it like that, I think you'll be more relaxed and your mind will have more space to receive more information, and it's all just a matter of putting everything down and enjoying your moment, and then leaving it up to you if you want to pick it back up again. Okay?
Yeah, that sounds great.
So I want to thank everyone very much for being here for this live talk, this Q&A. Some people joined on YouTube, some people joined on Discord, a lot of people joined here on Reddit, which is always wonderful. I appreciate everyone spending their time here. I know that your time is valuable, and I know that you were listening sincerely with an open mind and an open heart, and I really appreciate that. So I wish that everyone can be happy and peaceful. I wish that this can be not paint on top of rotten wood, but a real invitation to get a little bit more involved, take a little bit more responsibility in taking care of our life and reaffirming our intentionality each and every day to do good, to be good, to bring benefit to the world, and to not be so focused on just getting what we want. Thank you all for being here. This is the end. And don't forget, I put the resources in the comments section, so if you look around, you'll find it. And you can also leave a comment for me or send me a message, and I'm happy to talk with you. Okay, goodbye, good night. Be good.
Thank you so much.
Yes, yes.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
very much.